Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Property Management 101, and today we'll be discussing best practices for training new hires, part 2. If you've not already done so, please watch my disclosure video as well as my why I do this video. And if you found this video helpful and learned something new, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. This video will apply best to anyone that is in charge of the management of training new hires, and this will typically be a manager or supervisor. This video is the second one I've done for training new hires. I will post the link to the first one in the video description. The first video was much more general as far as the topics and what I went into, and this video is going to provide more details of things and good practices to keep in mind when training new hires. Training good practices is definitely something that I feel I could make many more videos on, and this is an area of the property management industry I feel that the industry as a whole has a lot of room to grow in. Number one best practice to keep in mind for training new hires: provide an acronym list. I'm always so blown away how many different acronyms are out there in the property management industry. There's many different acronyms different companies use, and some of the acronyms may be the same, but for a different company they may mean something totally different. For one company it may be a report, for another company it may be a process. It's really important that you provide that early on as they're going through these training sessions by different instructors. As those instructors are referring to certain acronyms, then that individual can actually look up what that trainer is referring to. One of the things I'd recommend when you put together an acronym list, don't just put simply what that acronym means. Put what actually it is as well. What I mean by that is this a report? Is it a process? Is it a floor plan? Is it meaning a certain type of situation? Is it meaning a certain type of company? Is it a leasing thing? Is it an HR related item? And this will be super helpful as well, not just simply what that acronym means, but what it does, what the definition is, where to go to find it. Number two best practice to keep in mind: you want to provide a standard operating procedures in a digital format. Instead of handing them a physical copy of a procedures handbook, for example, I would always recommend having a digital copy where you're maybe providing them a link instead of a physical handbook. And this will be super helpful for a couple different reasons, but some of the main ones are as follows. One of the advantages with a digital format rather than a handbook is that new hire can search within that handbook if they don't know where something is located, if you're referring to something or they need to refer to something. This will be helpful so they can find it, and rather than scrolling through every chapter or every section, then they can simply just in the search bar search what they're looking for, get to it, and then move on. The other big advantage of having a digital handbook or reference guide is that you can provide an update, and then you can also then have one centralized, consistent handbook. So even as current employees refer back to it to look up a certain process, they're always getting the most up-to-date procedure handbook. And this is going to be important to ensure everyone is on the same page. And that's why I think it's also important for a new hire, so they're always getting the most up-to-date process and procedures. They're not maybe getting a handbook that was created even just 7-8 months ago that may have some outdated processes. And the last best practice to keep in mind: have a scheduled check-in. One of the big mistakes I've seen after training as new hires, far too often there's really no checkpoints after that. And I think this is a missed opportunity for companies. Too often it's, all right, you're out of training, and it has this hands up kind of mentality. And I think that's a big mistake. And whether you want to make that maybe 30 days after training, 60 days after training, 90 days after training, I don't think there's a bad time frame to do this, as long as there are at least 1 or 2 checkpoints after training is complete to follow up, to allow, now that they're in this role and now that they're out of training, more questions are going to come up. As those questions come up, allowing a scheduled moment or time with that supervisor or maybe with that someone from the training department, so that person can have the opportunity to meet, talk freely, talk one-on-one, and then even make a checklist of things that questions that have come up that they want to ask. If they know that there's some sort of checks and balances meeting when it comes to after training, they will start thinking and preparing for that, which will be helpful for them to get answers of things that are coming up. Another thing I really like about this checking in after when training is complete, you're really allowing a good opportunity to start to strengthen that relationship you have with them. Whether it be someone from the training department, whether it be someone supervisor, that's still a good moment to have this one-on-one conversation, especially early on in that relationship, that will allow a good, strong relationship to form. I hope you found this video helpful and learned something new. If so, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. If you have any questions about this video or any of my videos, feel free to comment. I'll be happy to address them for you. Happy leasing.